So good morning, Mr. Filippo Rean. How are you doing today?
Good morning, pretty well. And what about you?
I'm very good as well. Thank you for asking. Thank you very much for accepting FIABCI's invitation to be a part of this new project we recently launched, the FIABCI Rendez-vous series. It is truly a pleasure having in the second episode someone with your expertise in real estate and, of course, a longtime partner of FIABCI as managing director of the real estate division of Reed MIDEM. It has been quite some time since we had the opportunity to cross paths since we last saw each other. And if I remember correctly, since propelled by Meepim during Paris Real Estate Week last year in September. So again, we are very happy to reconnect and hear from you today again. Without a doubt, you are a familiar face to our real estate community. Who will hopefully will be watching this later on. But still, I wanted to start by asking you, and by way of introduction, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself and, of course, your path within Reed MIDEM.
Sure. So let me just say that before anything else, that it's a pleasure to reconnect with the FIABCI community. As you know, that we have a long history together, and we've been trying also to do even more in the last few years with FIABCI. So it's a real pleasure to be with you and the rest of the community, even though only virtually for the moment, but we hope that real events will start back pretty soon, and we're working on that, as you can imagine. And so basically, I've been joining Reed almost 10 years ago. At the beginning, just in charge of Meepim, and then I expanded my responsibilities to include a larger portfolio. But Meepim remains at the heart of what we do. And as you know, as you mentioned, we also launched other events around Meepim, specifically dedicated to the tech components and the tech sectors related to real estate. That is the franchise that is called Propel. By Meepim, and last year actually it was the last event we've been doing so far was 1 year ago, almost. It was September last year in Paris, the Paris Real Estate Week, as you mentioned, which was centered around Propel Paris in the Sankat, which was an unusual place for us to be there. That was the last event, but we're working, as I mentioned, for the future to host new events as soon as the sanitary conditions will allow us, for sure.
Thank you very much. So regarding the partnership between FIABCI and Reed MIDEM, we have established, as I mentioned before, a successful, long-lasting partnership. What are your thoughts on this partnership, and what do you believe is the main value proposition FIABCI can offer?
Well, I think the partnership has been a very a win-win partnership for both of us, and that's why it's been going on so long. And I think we share a lot of common values, because when you do long partnerships, they are not opportunistic. They are built on common background and common values, as I was saying. And I think there is one thing that we both share is the loyalty. We've been loyalty with each other, loyalty within your memberships, and I think FIABCI is a long-term organization that thinks long-term and that has a long history behind it. So and that's pretty much shared with us. We think long-term, and we also have a history behind, and we're pretty loyal to our partners and to our customers, and also to our employees. The other thing is the international component, and I think both of us share a very international view of things, a very international view of the real estate market, and again, we are complementary in that. Sometimes we are strong in areas in a complementary way, but definitely there is this international mindset, I would say, that really makes us really two good partners, because there are not so many other organizations and not so many other events. Probably we are the only one that can really say that is totally international, where no nation has a front seat. Everybody is treated fairly in the same at the same with the same conditions, and that's also the other thing that I think characterizes FIABCI as well. So I would say the loyalty, the long-term view is one thing, and the international mindset is the other one.
We couldn't agree more. So this has been an unprecedented year, and with countries around the world starting to ease restrictions. Now we'll go to the events part of Reed MIDEM. How are the preparations for the restart of the physical events?
So we see that there is a real will to come back. I think that was there were some questions about events, especially at the beginning of the pandemic. I think it was similar for the event business was similar to what happened when the internet started to come 20 years ago. For us, was a similar tsunami, even though less deadly, I would say. Fortunately, this time is much worse. But in terms of the event business itself, at the beginning of the year 2000, there were a lot of questions about the sustainability long term of the model. Will the physical event continue to happen when everybody is going online? And actually, the event business and the events themselves, they actually came out of that even stronger than before, because there was a need, and even increased need, in a very technological and more digital world to have special moments to share and to get together and to do business and to create relationships. And we see that with the pandemic, a similar path happened again. So at the beginning of the pandemic, there were a lot of questions about should we go, will the restaurant business will radically change afterwards? Will events will radically change? Will people travel again, and so on? And we see that today, a lot of these questions have faded away. Definitely we need to change. Definitely a lot of things will not be exactly like before, but we see, and we can actually relieve that on every day, that now that the pandemic seems to be a little bit probably more under control than a few months ago. We see that there is, again, the mindset of our clients and partners is changing, and there is an increased will of being together, of coming back to that part of the equation when it comes to doing business and creating relationships, nurturing relationships. That doesn't mean that the way and the new ways of doing business, the adoption of new technologies will fade away. Like we are experiencing that right now live. We are talking with cameras. We are doing this virtually. We wouldn't have done that probably a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. We do that, and probably initiatives like this will continue, but they will be complemented by physical events. They will not disappear. Like restaurants, they will not disappear. There is a human need for physical relationships that will remain, for physical meetings that will remain. What will change will be I would say, the selection of the events. So probably there will be a Darwinian selection. So some events with a low value add might actually disappear or might reduce. People will be much more selective before making any decision about traveling for at least a while, and much more selective before making decisions to attend large events, because these events really need to be worth the effort to take a plane, take a train, take a car, and travel, and then to spend a few days out. But we see that there is a real enthusiasm in the perspective of coming back to events. And so, more concretely, what that means, it means that our pathway for the next months starts in September. So we have the first events will be organized by us in September, and one of them is actually Meepim September edition. It will be beginning of September in Cannes, and we see that there is since I'd say 3-4 weeks there is a real momentum mounting on that, and we are actually starting to sell numerous stands and sponsorships and delegations. And then we have, in Italy, we have Mapping Italy, for instance, that is just the following week, mid-September. And that's almost sold out in terms of, it's a smaller event, but it's almost sold out in terms of the floor space. And then we have Mapping in November, which is also picking up again. It was very silent and very quiet, market side in March and April, also because the industry was locked down. The shopping centers were actually mostly closed all across Europe. Now the activity is coming back, and we follow that trend. And so market is also presenting itself pretty well. We have an event in New York, Propel in New York, which is doing pretty well. At the end of the year, New York is basically open for business again. People are going back to the office. It's going to take a few weeks. It's going to take a few months, but the mood is there. The will is there. And now I also work on other sectors, so I have a bigger perspective of what's going on. And I can tell you that all the events that we have, and we have many between September and December this year, they all see the activity coming back in the last, let's say, 3 to 4 weeks.
Thank you for that. So I wanted to focus, you mentioned the September edition of Meepim, the world's leading property market. So this will be the first event to really reconnect with industry leaders in person, correct? So what should we expect from this edition?
It will be a special edition, as the name indicates. It will be an edition which will welcome a smaller crowd. So we expect around 5,000, maybe a little bit more people. It will be probably more senior than usual because, and we see that, and we are in contact with a lot of clients. So they will tend to send the more senior people to this special event. And having in mind that in March 2022, Meepim will be back at the original dates, with the original format. It will be an event which will have a combination of an exhibition zone. So we have an exhibition zone, but since we are very conscious about the fact that September is almost tomorrow, and that is basically a new event, we propose only turnkey solutions. So all the stands will be built by us. So clients will just need to sign and then show up, basically. And there will be a lot of content. There will be a lot of conferences. It will be just 2 days as well to concentrate the people and our clients in a smaller time frame. And there will be basically some of the, we will try, I mean, this is going to be very important to look back. It's going to be the first opportunity to really look back at what's happened in the last 15 months. We hope, and we're pretty confident that we'll be probably on the right track to get out of the pandemic. So it will really offer the first opportunity to take a little bit of a helicopter view of the transformation that have happened in the last 15 months since the pandemic started, but also more importantly, how they will affect the future. So it's going to be the first opportunity. There will be others along the way, but the first opportunity for the industry to reconvene, think back, and also try to design the new future, the new normal. And there will be a lot of things, sustainability, which has become a real urgency through the pandemic. The transformation of the use of real estate assets. We see that with a big debate about the office, retail, it's just an acceleration of what was already underway. The new, I would say, mounting asset classes like logistics. The big question mark about hospitality, no one thinks that's a dead asset class at all. There is a lot of activity in reality around that asset class. So what about hospitality? And what about all the new uses of real estate? So about health, about co-living. We see the residential sector being, again, in the radar screen of the large institutional investors. That's a big new element that was totally missing in the picture of probably just looking back at 2-3 years. So as you can see, the world has changed a lot in these 15 months. It's like a fast forward that we've been lived through in the last 15 months, and that's going to be the first opportunity to really be back, and everybody's going to be there, at least all the major players from continental Europe. So we really hope that's going to be a success, but not only for us, but most importantly for the community as a first international gathering after so many months of pandemic and seclusion.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I was going to ask you about the key themes that were being addressed, but you pretty much already answered that. So moving a little away from the events now, and fast forwarding to the future, what do you think will the city of the future will look like in your opinion? And what are the main trends you see emerging?
So we see that again, it's kind of a fast forward what happened. And I think today we're probably in a better position than a few months ago to answer that, because we are probably already living through some of that transformations. We see that there is probably a city where some of the barriers between asset classes, they are going down. So there will be much more mixed use than in the past. And the asset classes themselves, they will need to be thought with the to be thought so that they can be transformed along the way during their life. The city will also have, and we see that it's not a novelty, but we see that transformation coming up. A city where transportation will need to be rethought, and there will be new ways of transportation, probably smoother and lighter than cars. And we see that with a lot of experiments, some successful, some less successful, a lot of pain sometimes during the transformations, but that's also a big trend. And then there will be a lot of tension on the sustainability part of the city. The cities are the largest pollution creator, if you want, in the world, the large cities, because of traffic, because of heating, and there hasn't been enough attention and enough focus on that aspect, and that's coming up. And also for the real estate industry, which has always probably taken some distance with this kind of things in the past, that's coming up very, very importantly. And that means not only the energy efficiency of the building, but also the way the building is built. And we see a lot of new materials, like wood is one of them, that will be used probably much more extensively in the future.
You mentioned transformation more than once. It is argued that real estate has traditionally been slow in adopting technology, but at the same time that the global outbreak has acted as a tip-off point for the industry to embrace digital transformation. Do you agree that indeed the global outbreak was a turning point for prop tech?
I agree that this unfortunate period has had the effect to accelerate the adoption of technology for the real estate sector, and so PropTech is today almost a common word. I remember we were very quick to use that when we launched our Propel event. They were called PropTech at the beginning. It was 5-6 years ago. We launched that in New York, and it was almost too early. It was almost seen as an addition or something very separated from the main sector, which was the real estate. Today, they are part of it. In fact, actually, we are actually including a PropTech station, we call it PropTech station, during our meeting events in Cannes, starting in September and then again in March 2022. So we are actually including that as part of the total meeting experience, because we think that the tech adoption is today is a must for most of the players, but not as a goal itself. I mean, the adoption of technology is a means to achieve a better sustainability of the building, a better use of the building, a higher customer satisfaction in terms of usage of the building. These are all the things where tech can intervene. And if you think at the city scale, that's also true. So the technology will provide the means and basically the infrastructure to build the city of tomorrow, regulating traffic, regulating energy consumption, and achieving a good utilization of spaces, tracking that and then feeding algorithms that can actually have a better usage of an office building, but also of a city. So technologies now start to be embedded in the way the real estate industry works and functions and thinks to new buildings. It was not the case 5 years ago, definitely not 10 years ago. Well, when we say this, we just need to be, which is going to be the challenge for the industry, especially when we take a city view, is going to be all the topics related to security, related to privacy rights, all these things that, if you think about that, where the real estate industry was pretty far away from these things just a few years ago. And today, they need to be considered when you're planning a city, or even when you're planning a building. You start having a big debate and big question marks about the use of personal data, for instance. That before that was not an issue because we were not tracking the usage of the building by the office employees or by shopping center visitors. Today, that needs to become a focus for the industry, and that's one of the things we want to do with our prop tech event. Is not only to provide a view of the potential partners or suppliers or again industry partners in the tech space, but also to provide a little bit of knowledge and starting to highlight the issues and the opportunities that the technology adoption will have for the industry. And again, privacy is one of them, security or tech security and piracy. All these themes will also be part of the environment that the real estate industry will be moving in the next few years.
And what do you think will be the biggest challenge or challenges for the real estate industry after the health crisis, the health crisis? And more broadly, where do we go from here?
Well, as I was mentioning, I think there are two main challenges. One is basically taking a view on the use of the real estate assets by the final users. This is something pretty complicated, I think, and also pretty new for the industry, because in the past, an office building was an office building. Mm-hmm. And an office employee was an office employee, meaning that he was coming in the office 5 days per week and for a certain number of hours. Today, think about that, you need to have a view of the future of the office. And that's pretty new for most of our clients, for most of the real estate industry. Shopping centers, again, I think in shopping centers, they started the transformation and that new thinking, probably already a few years ago, but today, the acceleration of this transformation is actually forcing everyone to really step back, think what's going on, and then projecting a view on the future. And I think we took things for granted a little bit in the past, but for the good reasons, because there was no reason to doubt that an office building would have been used as an office building for the next 20 years ago. But today, who knows how an office building will be really used when the pandemic will be over. And there are so many new opinions, and I think that's going to be a big challenge, to basically take a position and then try to make the position the less wrong as possible. I mean, no one will have a crystal ball, but I think that's going to be fascinating, but it's going to be essential. And the other one is the adoption of technology, because again, technology will be the mean, the digital infrastructure to make sure that your office building that you don't really know how it's going to be used is going to be used in an optimal way that will maximize your financial returns and the satisfaction of the users. And without technology, it's difficult that you can achieve that. And so how the real estate industry will be able to adopt and to, again, embed technology in what they will be doing, I think that's going to be also a fascinating challenge for the industry.
Thank you very much. Well, that's a wrap for today's episode. Thank you very much for taking the time to answer our questions. Mr. Rean, it has been a pleasure. Thank you again for accepting our invitation. I do hope we see each other very, very soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks to you. Thanks to you.